of Africa. As strong as a group, as close as a partner.
Where Duraplas goes, water flows.
BS Industries has introduced a new roofing system known as Colorlink Plus.
Flamingo paint, simply superior. Syntax tank, are you strong? Are you tough?
Cherry Tree Properties. We develop spaces as though we were going to.
Hello, good morning and welcome to Newsfile. This is your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, as always, we put Ghana first. I'm Samson Ladi Anyenini. Now today, as we all are aware, William Ato-Essien, CEO of the founder of the defunct Capital Bank, gets to go to jail 15 years. We will bring you the fuller details, what the judge or the court had to say specifically about him and the conviction, what you may not have heard anywhere yet. Among others, the court said he demonstrated sheer greed in his desire to own another bank besides Capital Bank and left no stone unturned through subterfuge and deceit with pure criminal intent to set up Sovereign Bank Limited. Being in a position of trust, he was expected to have demonstrated a sense of responsibility and true fidelity. He had no cause whatsoever to steal such gargantuan sums of money, and the punishment must reflect that. The court said, above all, it cannot fail to take into account the trail of pain and tears that had been occasioned by the criminal conduct of the convict respondent, that's Ato-Essien. Countless number of innocent citizens lost their jobs and are still job hunting. The nation had to spend huge sums of money. And you may be aware, some 23, 25, 27 billion, we are told, in the cleanup exercise that led to the collapse of 9 banks. It says that the nation had to spend huge sums of money to bail the creditors and depositors. There are other things that come up in the judgment we share with you. Did he have assets valued at 10 million United States dollars, which could offset the debt of 90 million? What happened and why was all that rejected? The special prosecutor doesn't want the judge who dealt with its matter the first time between the special prosecutor and Cecilia Dapaah to continue to sit on cases concerning Cecilia Dapaah brought before the court. It has petitioned the Chief Justice asking that the judge be changed or the case be taken to different courts. Is the special prosecutor justified? As it slaps a criminal charge on Madame Cecilia Dapaah, and the FBI joins in investigating Madame Cecilia Dapaah. Upuni has been on trial for how many years? Do you remember? close to the entire life of this administration, and yet his case doesn't seem to move. We may have some comments on that also. The Professor Frimpong Boateng authored a statement in which he indicted a number of people in government of Galamsey, complicit in Galamsey. The Attorney General has reviewed a docket being worked on by the police about these people and makes a verdict. Professor Frimpong Boateng's report, plus pen drives and other pieces of evidence he supplied, empty. There is no case for any of the people to answer. We'll share the Attorney General's advice with you. MPP members, thugs, they call them. That's the UTV calls them. Invaded a live broadcast. The police says it has arrested 16 of them. How far so far with their case? I'm Samson Ladia Yanini. We'll be right back to deal with these vexed matters.
Small. Your room be too bright, oh.
Why, you be vampire where you know they like sunlight?
Oh, my guy, my eyes. Behind the PC problem. In the sun problem. Common light bulb stuff.
This no matter. I beg go Robert and Sons. Oh, yeah. Then my chick to him, I know correct. Cry. Where Robert and Sons sort them out sharp. Now, so stylish frames in the rock.
We go Robert and Sons right in. No, I was sitting inside proper.
For over 25 years, Robert & Sons continues to provide specialist eye care for both adults and children. Locate us at Adabraka, Adenta, Kumasi, Usudankwa, Tema, Weja, and East Legon. Call 050-151-9111. Robert & Sons, seeing is believing.
My way insurance, Abamudia, send my way,
Hi, my name is Nanama McBrown, and I want to encourage you to dial *165# on MTN to join the My Way family. My Way provides you and a selected family member a cover against death. As a policyholder, you will also have a cover against total permanent disability and hospitalization should you be hospitalized for more than 2 nights. Dial *165# and join the family. Sanya My Way. No way.
My Way is a product of My Life and MTN Momo. Terms and conditions apply.
Happy people. Save big to welcome the new season. Give your mansion a new look. Messy. Get your house renovated. Doormaster Save Big promo is on. Our doors ranges from exterior and interior steel security door, bulletproof and armor door, wooden metal and panel door, glass and flash door. Edru Doormaster. The widest range of paint solution awaits you for your acrylic, emulsion, and animal paint. We also have in stock road marking paint, marine paint, waterproofing, damp-proof paint. Sisawo bathroom hall. More look fresh. Your luxurious toilet seat, basin, taps, on your latest vanities are Papa B. Visit the Doormaster. Promo ends on 15 December. Call 0542-745-222. Henmon office of Pobimon Tobu, Accra Kumasi Highway, Obeye, opposite the Forest Reserve, Sulumfianco, ACP, opposite Besham Temple, Tema Community 5, at the Pajanchen Hua, and Sawamedua. Doormaster Saving promo is on. Hello.
Since inception, almost 100% of Ashesi University students have found jobs, started businesses, or gone on to graduate school within 6 months of graduation. From Accra to Nairobi, London to New York, Ashesi graduates are noticed and they are leading successful careers. If you dream of a rewarding life and career, an Ashesi education prepares you for just that. Learn more about applying to Ashesi at www.ashesi.edu.gh.
Joy 99.7 FM.
Syntex was the first to introduce double-layer tanks in Ghana. Syntex again was the first to introduce white inner layers in Ghana. Syntex gives you the biggest warranty, 7 years. No matter your water needs, Syntex is the answer. Syntex tank. Are you strong? Are you tough?
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to demonstrate to you the superior properties of Flamingo paint. As compared to other paint brands on the market, we take equal quantities of Flamingo paint and this ordinary paint. We then dilute them with water. And now, let the test begin. The gentleman on the left is going to apply the ordinary paint, and the gentleman on my right will use the Flamingo Superior paint. As you can clearly see, Flamingo has the obvious better hiding. Furthermore, Flamingo has painted a much larger area. You know, 1 bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint is made with superior formulation to give superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior.
In uncertain times, it can be hard to imagine yourself completing the SEMA professional qualification. But with our new digital-first learning and assessment platform, you can. The CGMA Finance Leadership Program, or FLP, gives you control over your study progress. The CGMA FLP is a remote-based, self-paced learning platform that lets you qualify from home with online assessments and
Welcome back. This is News File, the most authoritative news analysis platform, and here on News File, as always, we put Ghana first. Join us and don't miss any part of what we're going to do today, because I assure you, you will enjoy it. But let us know your views on the number of matters that we are canvassing for you this morning. As I get ready to welcome my guests into the studio and on Zoom, let me share with you some brief take. And I say OSP not preventing corruption. The OSP is erected on the basis of popular demand, which the Akufo-Addo administration, whilst in opposition, spoke about and got very many of us interested. We're so excited about it that that opportunity will be given. many had called for the separation of the Attorney General from the Minister of Justice, because many Attorney Generals, almost all, will confess to you that they will not be able to prosecute their own. But there are people in government and people in parties that do wrong, corrupt activity that must be punished. So we did need this vehicle. The Constitution also has a command that the states must take steps to eradicate corruption or corrupt practices and abuse of power. That's what the Constitution says. So this was so popular. And when Nana Akufo-Addo took it to run with it during the campaign, some of us were so excited that we joined it. That if for nothing at all, we will get an OSP that will fight corruption head on. And the appointment of Martin Amidu from, quote unquote, the opposition was sort of the icing on the cake. And people got ecstatic. People within the corruption, anti-corruption, fight space were so very happy. So he started his processes. And we must say, almost all the laws that have been made after the setting up of the office, after the setting up of the office with the first law, that is Act 959, Office of the Special Prosecutor Act 2017. Almost all the laws, that's the regulations that have been made, you can say Martin Amidu midwifed them. Now, the law's requirements of the Office of Special Prosecutor, there is one part that we don't seem to pay attention to, and that is my concern. And I want to call on the OSP to pay attention to that part. In Section 2, the law says the object of the office is to investigate and prosecute corruption cases. Then, 2, it is to recover the proceeds of corruption or corruption-related offenses. And 3, is to take steps to prevent corruption. Prevent corruption. That is such an onerous task. Prevention of corruption. How does it do that? You have people with a culture of gift giving that goes beyond really gift giving. So how does the OSP prevent corruption? The makers of the OSP law then took time to provide certain things in the Act itself and the regulation to help the OSP in this direction. So in the regulations, the OSP was asked to, in receiving complaints, do anti-corruption programs. Supposed to do anti-corruption programs. I don't remember the last time the OSP undertook an anti-corruption program and called citizens or the media to attend and to help. Education and information of the public. Supposed to be educating and informing the public. Part of the process to prevent corruption. Publicizing detected acts of corruption. When it detects acts of corruption, it's supposed to publicize them. These are supposed to help the OSP to prevent corruption. To prevent corruption. Help all of us. The OSP is supposed to act on an investigative journalism report or source. I believe that all of these are geared towards making the OSP do the job of preventing corruption. So this morning, my call is to the OSP to do the other aspects which is important. Prevention, they say, is better than cure. Get all Ghanaians to change their attitudes. It is a veritable way of fighting corruption. I conclude by saying that, of course, I have spoken about what appears to be a well-choreographed attack that's been launched at the special prosecutor by significant persons in the NPP, some on government payroll and working in the presidency. I'm asking, what else or how else shall one define interference in the OSP's work when people in government continue to say his work is not being interfered with, especially when the silence of the presidency or cabinet is the loudest endorsement of the attacks now elevated to bare insults directed at the person of the special prosecutor and utter disregard for his office. There are hirelings that are on a sustained mission that lowers and encourages disdain for the special prosecutor and the office by members of this regime, the party, whom the hirelings have influence over. You can criticize the SP and the office relying on factual matters, but certainly not projecting pure lies as the basis of the shameless abuse of his person and professional competence, and the contemptuous and nation-wrecking conduct in the guise of criticism. The party and government is happy about what is going on with their own people, doing this to the OSP. The SP is of the status of a court of appeal judge. I think you lose the moral right to criticize the NDC for criticizing judges in an objectionable fashion, or such that it tends to destroy the institution of the judiciary. Such height of double standards must be stopped, and those who have influence must speak to those who must hear. These hirelings show such disrespect publicly for a class of the elderly and elder statesmen simply because they are or perceived to be associated with a different political persuasion. This disrespect is even extended to chiefs. Only chiefs of a certain ethnic background and perceived political persuasion. Your silence is an endorsement. For those of you who say the OSP is turning into a setting monster, we thank God for a monster, because corruption is such a monstrous thing that you need a monster to fight. And that's my take. We'll be right back.
Oh, Charlie, close the window small. Your room be too bright, oh.
Why, you be vampire where you know they like sunlight?
Oh, my guy, my eyes. Behind the PC problem, in the sun problem, common light bulb stuff.
This no matter. I beg go Robert and Sons. Oh yeah, then my chick to him, I know correct. Cry. Where Robert and Sons sort them out sharp. Now so stylish frames in the wrong.
We go Robert and Sons right in. No, I was sitting inside proper.
For over 25 years, Robert & Sons continues to provide specialist eye care for both adults and children. Locate us at Adabraka, Adenta, Kumasi, Osudankwa, Tema, Weja, and East Legon. Call 050-151-9111. Robert & Sons, seeing is believing.
My way insurance, send my way,
My name is Nana Nanama McBrown, and I want to encourage you to dial *165# on MTN to join the My Way family. My Way provides you and a selected family member a cover against death. As a policyholder, you will also have a cover against total permanent disability and hospitalization should you be hospitalized for more than 2 nights. Dial *165# and join the family. Sanya My Way, Kasa no way.
Sanya My Way, Kasa no way. My Way is a product of My Life and MTN Momo. Terms and conditions apply.
Happy people! Save big to welcome the new season. Give your mansion a new look. Missy, get your house renovated. Doormaster Save Big promo is on. Our doors ranges from exterior and interior steel security door, bulletproof and armor door, wooden metal and panel door, glass and flash door. Edu Doormaster, the widest range of paint solution awaits you for your acrylic, emulsion, and animal paint. We also have in stock road marking paint, marine paint, waterproofing, damp-proof paint, Sisawo bathroom hall, more look fresh. Your luxurious toilet seat, basin, taps, on your latest vanities are Papa B. Visit the Doormaster. Promo ends on 15 December. Call 0542-745-222. Henmon office of Pobi Montobu, Accra Kumasi Highway, Obeye, opposite the Forest Reserve, Sulunfianko, ACP, opposite Besham Temple, Tema Community 5, at the Pajanchen Hua, and Sawamedua. Doormaster Saving promo is on. At the low.
The Ghana AIDS Commission is working hard to overturn the situation. The Commission urgently needs funding support from corporate Ghana and individuals to save lives. We're therefore appealing to you, corporate entities and individuals, to support the National HIV and AIDS Fund by dialing *9898# on MTN and Vodafone and follow the prompts, or pay into the National HIV and AIDS Fund account number 101-863-161-3233, Bank of Ghana. Your donation will be used to prevent new infections and provide care for people living with HIV, including children affected by AIDS. For further information, please call Ghana AIDS Commission on 0302-919260 or email info@ghanaids.gov.gh. Give to save a life today. Ghana AIDS Commission, partnering to eliminate HIV and AIDS.
Hi, good day. Your friend Dr. Victor Nana Dankwa, because every big Dan healthcare. A primary bed and comfort hospital like catch up so many liver and kidney related conditions. Will be one my fatty liver. Will be one my catching so when you're hydronephrosis. Will be one my catching so when you're pyelonephritis, which is inflammation of the kidneys. Will be one my catching say the kidney should be a big now. Will be one my send the creatinine and I send the JFR. And until we so how now sit me time. I feel don't send me an atom. Johnson now be Johnson, who was a phone be about between Kawakuma to him. And until now, they done healthcare, Yabasa, yet an alternative way so ever so area.
So over Big Danka, it was serene environment with ultra modern facilities. As I was showing there was Spinters, Coca-Cola runabout, close to Fidelity Bank, Stanchart in Chironuma.
Welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's the most authoritative news analysis platform, and here on Newsfile we put Ghana first. My guest joining us via Zoom is Bobby Banson. He's lawyer and author of legal texts. In the studio, Sylvester Tete, MP Botiano, English Yamanfro, and Vice Chairman, Communications Committee of Parliament, Kweku George Ricketts Hagan is MP Cape Coast South and former Deputy Minister of Finance. Gentlemen, good morning. Thanks for making the time to join us.
Good morning.
Good morning. Great. Now, so let's bring into a certain perspective. As you know, Ato Essien, there was a judgment of the court that was supposed to have been delivered on the 13th of December, was it? 2022. And then suddenly, he and his lawyers arrested the judgment. They went with an agreement with the Attorney General to plead guilty and to pay for what he had admitted to stealing. So the amount of money standing in Ato Essien's name, which he said to have stolen, according to the charge sheet, was 192.5 million. 192.5 million Ghana cedis. But by the time they sought to settle, and he pleaded guilty to all 16 counts against him, the Attorney General had recovered 101.2 million of the amount. 101.2 million of the amount. It was detected that 35 million of the amount was seen to have been repeated twice on the charge sheet. And so 35 million was knocked off. Essentially, at the close of the day, the actual amount of money that Ato Essien was charged as having stolen was 57.5 million Ghana cedis. 57.5 million Ghana cedis. So the agreement for him to pay 90 million Ghana cedis in settlement after pleading guilty was a plus for the state. It was a good job that the Attorney General had done because they got an extra amount for him to pay. Now the money, how did they recover the 101.2 million? They recovered it through a number of processes. They are taking a certain amount of the liquidity fund to try and set up sovereign bank. Some of that money was there and the state had access to it. When initially was interrogated by Iyoko, they took money, seized money from him. That was also kept by the Attorney General. So let's give that perspective before we continue. Now, what did the court say on the 12th day of October? The High Court, presided over by Justice Eric Che Bafo, Justice of the Court of Appeal, sitting as additional High Court judge. Among others, the court said it did not intend to accept this kind of agreement from the very onset. It did not agree with the Attorney General. But upon certain persuasions, it had to take what they had presented before the courts. So it said it made an unusual indulgence for Ato Essien to pay the 90 million after he paid the first 30 million. And subsequently, 20 million was due and another 20 million was due. 20 million was due in April and another 20 million was due in August. He was supposed to have finished paying in December of 2023. But by the arrangement, if you breach the second installment, or call it the first installment payment, then the law kicks in and you must go to jail. So this is what happened. Now, let's go over the punishment that was given to him as in the sentence. And we are showing you on our screens all 16 counts which he pleaded guilty to. Remember, there were 4 of them. Kate Corte Papafio, the 4th defendant, the 4th accused, was discharged because her lawyers, including Eduji Tamaklo, made a submission of no case against her. And the court said she had conducted herself foolishly, but foolishly is not a criminal offense. So she was let go and was left with 3, including First Gerald Odonko and Mr. Tete. They were acquitted and discharged in December 2022. And that was the day, 13th, that Atuasian pleaded guilty instead of waiting for the judgment to be rendered. So, let's begin with count 1. The courts gave, this is count 1, conspiracy to steal, 10 years with hard labor. Count 3, stealing, 15 years. Count 4, money laundering, 4 years. Count 5, conspiracy to steal, 10 years with hard labor. Count 7, stealing, 10 years with hard labor. Count 8, money laundering, 2 years with hard labor. Count 10, stealing, 11 years with hard labor. Count 11, money laundering, 2 years with hard labor. Count 13, stealing, 4 years with hard labor. Count 14, money laundering, 1 year with hard labor. Count 16, stealing, 6 years with hard labor. Count 17, now you find it's 17 because there's a count, is it 2 or something you didn't see? Money laundering, 2 years with hard labor. So the total years comes to count 19, stealing, 8 years with hard labor. 20, money laundering, 2 years with hard labor. 22, stealing, 7 years with hard labor. 23, money laundering, 2 years with hard labor. That brings you to a total of 16 counts. A total of 16 counts. And we have rendered them the way the court gave one by one how it went about punishing. So put all together, you are counting about a total of 90 plus years, like 95 years. But because he's going to run the sentence concurrently, it comes to 15. Yes, so let's get on with this now. Beginning with Sylvester Tete.
Interesting and a good job. Thank you very much. And good morning to our viewers, my senior colleague here, and Samson, your good self, and your team. This is quite unfortunate and most bizarre way for a young man to go down in this country. And I think that the bottom line, he's been convicted on his own plea.
That's right.
Bottom line. So I've heard people when this banking sector cleanup came, the interest in the banking sector cleanup. And yesterday, 3 days ago, I've heard same people or more feeling very sympathetic to the young man, asking why is he not given time to pay. He's started paying, and that is enough sign for him to be allowed time to pay. Well, without the law, on moral grounds, anybody, or religious grounds, people are free to make such comment. But we must understand that he's been convicted on his own plea, and that's what. But my take on this matter, Samson, is quite simple. There are many more banks that went down, just like Capital Bank went down.
A total of 9 of them.
A total of 9 of them. The Ghanaian people are interested in all these 9 banks and how they've been handled by the Attorney General's Department or by the state apparatus that has investigated all these banks. And I'm happy that you've laid the facts bare
and that the actual money that was stolen, and indeed has been confirmed stolen by the gentleman, was 7.5 million, but the state has added on to come to 90 million cedis, as it were. Many people thought that he has stolen more than the 90 million, and it's been part of the media conversation since this whole matter came up. And I think that the clarity has been brought on this network, and I think that people will appreciate it from this morning's conversation. That I deliberately started on that note because I have seen across the board in the media landscape where there's no understanding. And the figures, as I outlined, were the figures as put out by the Attorney General in the courtroom.
Yes.
To convince the judge, because the judge was not amenable to the arrest.
Yes, that part of the conversation. I know it happened recently in the U.S., where the son of the president, there's a settlement of this nature, and the judge declined the settlement that, look, I won't accept this. So the case is being tried. And I think that in this particular matter, the judge initially did not want to accept this plea that he should be allowed time to pay, obviously because of the sensitive nature of this matter. And like any other Ghanaian, we were expectant of the outcome of these investigations because a lot has been lost to this country with respect to the banking sector cleanup, where over 29 billion cedis had been spent on the banking sector cleanup. Obviously, the pros and cons of it, we all know that we had the ailing banking sector, but for the intervention, obviously, we're going to crash. That would have been a catastrophic situation for this country. However, I think that the AG has done a very good job, and the investigators have done a very good job, having come to the numbers we are seeing today. You can see conspiracy to steal, obviously, and then you are charged for conspiracy to steal. That is a count. Stealing is a count, and money laundering. Look, money laundering is one thing we haven't really explained to the good people of this country well. But you're a lawyer, and then, like we say, aiding and abetting. I'm not sure one person can conspire to steal this huge amount of money. So people were hoping to see other people involved in this. And apart from the monies that were in the reserve to open the sovereign bank, and then the monies that were within that were confiscated, to come to 102.2 million. What about assets? Couldn't the bank have taken possession, the state have taken possession of his assets and then dispose them off to defray part of the debt? Well, now he's going to prison.
It's a civil suit.
It's a civil suit.
It's a civil suit. That's being pursued by the receiver.
Right. So, Samson today is going to prison for 15 years. How are we going to recover the rest of the money? It is not in anybody's interest to put him in prison, continue to feed him. If the civil suit can bring about the rest of the money, that is good news for this country. What the ordinary person on the street is interested in, recover the money and punish. As of punishment, nobody is against the punishment. He's a gentleman, nice guy, I feel for him, but he's been convicted on his own plea. And I'm interested in the rest of the 8 cases, how it's going to end.
Right.
Then there's the issue of the board, the governing board of the banks. I'll have to go back and read more of the investigations into this matter. It brings to question the corporate governance structure or the culture of corporate governance in this country.
And particularly on social media. And beyond social media, they talk about the fact that for UT, for this particular bank, Capital Bank, Dr. Mensah Otabil should also have been part of the
I'm not only looking at him alone, but the culture of corporate governance, the level of culpability in this country. I'm not too sure that 100 million cedis could be taken from the vote of a bank without the scrutiny of a board. I'm a board chairman today. It frightens me that there's no way the culture of corporate governance, if it's being pursued well, that I sit as a board chairman and whooping amount of 100 million and more could be disbursed from the bank without approval. And how was it reported? Who gave the approval? I'm not sure the gentleman went into the vote and picked 100 million and more.
The court found that there was about 2 or 3 companies accounts that were opened, including one Mariposa and so on. And the court found that they were deliberately opened so that the monies will be transferred into those accounts to be used to set up the sovereign bank.
No, so it's a board decision.
So you had 60 something million being pushed into each account.
However, look, even to assess a 1 million cedi loan from the bank, it
It goes to the board. There's a threshold for the MD. And it's a standard practice. When I was a CEO, in procurement, I have a threshold of 100,000. Beyond that, you go through tender. At the board meeting, there are things that the MD cannot do. It has to go through the board for approval. These are things that should be investigated. And I don't want to say because it's Mensa Hotabel. We are looking at the corporate governance structure. It has been brought to question. And we should even extend the conversation to that extent. Otherwise, how could an MD, how was the bank even open, for what purpose? Who gave the approval for the bank to be opened, the sovereign bank, intended sovereign bank to be opened? Who are the directors of that bank? If the money gets into it, intended bank to be opened. So who are the supervisors of that account? Is he a sole signatory to that account? How could he have accessed monies from an account that is intended to open a sovereign bank? I mean, these are legitimate questions that we need to ask. It is not enough that the monies have been recovered, but there are more work to be done. There's so much work to be done on this particular investigation. Yes, I'm happy that the monies have been, about 32 million more has been recovered from him. 37 million cedis more. So he's left with about roughly 53 million to be paid. So somebody asked, assuming the family is able to put up this money and go to the bank, what will be his fate? Is he going to be released from prison, or he will continue to serve on his own plea? So I think that, for me, there are more questions to be answered.
The Deputy Attorney General has been saying,
yes,
and I share that view though, that once the court has given its judgment,
that's fine,
convicted and passed the sentence. In fact, he was convicted in December. Let's not forget that. He was convicted. It was sentence that was suspended pending payment of the 90 million. Failure to do which he was to be sentenced accordingly. The Deputy Attorney General has been saying that once the court is finished with its job, it's done. But if he is able, within this, any time from now, to pay the remainder of the money, then he can go on. He can go on appeal.
Okay.
He can file an appeal and ask for the sentence to be reduced.
Interesting.
Yeah, but he's happy that they've gotten this. And in the history of this country, criminal prosecution, this appears to be
a huge,
like the first. You don't have anything like this done before.
So I think it's also part of the reason why many people are not cautious when it comes to criminal prosecutions. Because all the criminal prosecutions we've had in this country, it ends up nothing. Sometimes you get some few years in jail and that's it. But the booty itself had never been attached as it is. And I think that has been a huge success. That's why we celebrate this case from the AG's point of view. However, some of us are interested in the culture of corporate governance, how it assisted in this conspiracy and all that. Because when you talk of conspiracy, one man cannot conspire with himself. There could be multiple factors that comes together to make it complete. And that's where I'm particularly interested. And we are following keenly with the rest of the banks that have been closed down. Until that, the public confidence has to be heightened by way of how we do our things. And investigations, I believe that is public. It should be made public for everybody, the details of it. I mean, the fact that you recover the money does not mean that everything is sacrosanct. We still have to ask more legitimate questions. But until then, for what they have done, the success in this case is it's a yeoman's job.
The AG said they really wish that they had gotten all the money because that was their interest.
Yes, certainly.
And that they've gotten 37, the rest could be
they are close to recover the exact amount.
Yes, the rest could be lost to them.
Yeah.
But something came up in the court. The court said after the length of time allowed to ACN to make the payment, the court said, as a matter of fact, a very material allegation made by ACN against the imposition of custodial sentence was a claim that an agreement had been reached between ACN Swiss Limited and a company known as Panarico Limited, for which ACN Swiss was entitled to periodic payments for the sale of its assets, or which same was to be relied upon to make payments to the state. Unfortunately, this entity, where he was getting money to help make the payment,
you have to investigate,
had also been sued and some people were levying judgments on that entity. So the court said, from the way it looks, he has lost opportunity of that money that was going to be coming in. So he's not going to get that money. So even the lawyers were asking for 6 more months. And so if we give you the 6 more months, the source of money that you're going to get to pay is no more there. It has to be reasonable. So what are you going to do? Then there was this other part that the court said he indeed made an offer of giving his water treatment plant located at Pram Pram, which is valued at $10 million US.
How?
Enough to offset the outstanding amount of 53 million Ghana cedis together with the judgment debt that has been procured by one other company.
Samson.
Now, this were his lawyers telling the court. Who valued some people are saying that if this opportunity was there, that he has a property that, even if it's not $10 million, supposing it's something close to, it's $5 million. If you give him time, maybe he could pay. Why didn't they wait rather than get him in jail and lose the opportunity?
Something, the court will look at the reasonable grounds or possibility. I know that property very well in Pram Pram. Obviously, yes, it worth not more than $2 million.
Oh, really?
Of course.
You can't say that. This must be a proper valuation done.
I wonder who did the valuation.
But you can't use your eyes to just...
Seriously speak, it's a water treatment plant. I don't know what kind of equipment in there. The size of the warehouse and the office in front of it. Obviously, cannot worth $10 million. That notwithstanding, for me, I'm also interested to know, the AG will help us to know how much it costs to do this prosecution. We really help Ghanaians so that we weigh the cost of doing this prosecution as against what the state is getting. We should be interested in this, and in other jurisdictions, they put out the cost, the detailed cost of prosecution in these matters.
I'm sure they factored that in. That's why they got an extra.
Yeah, but they should be able to tell us. So now that we are not getting the entire money, as it were, obviously the state is losing a lot of money. So preventive aspect of this.
The state will not have spent $5 million doing this.
Well, you can't tell that. Well, you're a lawyer, though, but
you can't spend. They will spend $5 million.
You are not. But they haven't been able to
so much in extra. Excess.
You may not. You can't say that for a fact. So the state, we are interested. The state should be able to tell us, and periodically they should be able to tell the good people of this country how much it costs to be able to do all these things, so that we strike the balance. But I think that, unfortunate as it is, I think that the right thing has been done. It's a big lesson to all of us, and like I said earlier on, members who serve on various boards of financial institutions or otherwise, the temptations are quite high, but we should be guided by the principles and the legal remit within which we work. Other than that, we'll find ourselves. I mean, if all other 8 cases are being prosecuted and we get to the final conclusion, obviously some people will be able to have the financial muscles to pay. So they should surge on and make sure we recover all monies to the state.
All right.
That's the huge lesson. I remember when this matter came, people were like, oh, he's been persecuted, he's a young man, he's opening opportunities.
People said that?
Yes, of course. I mean, in the media space, that this is a young man who is creating job opportunities for young people and all that. They've said all that. But today, the bottom line, the gentleman has been convicted on his own plea.
That's right.
Settles the matter.
Right. Now, Kuku, what do you say? He had waited until they had done prosecution for a very long time. The state had called 17 witnesses. And the judge said, why did you have to waste our time this way? So, whilst the judge was minded to exact a hefty penalty, he still felt, and he noted, that because of the payments he has made, he would also consider that. So the judge said, for example, stealing alone is 25 years. 25 years. But see how he came. He came to 15. Good news?
Samson, good morning to you. It's been a long time. And good morning to my brother, Sly, and your cherished viewers and listeners. This is a very interesting case. And it's actually much, much bigger and goes beyond as Sly said, he admitted to the crime, and therefore he must do the time. He had the opportunity to pay, and though he made a substantial amount of initial payment, that's about a third of what he was supposed to pay. Probably ran out of money. There could also be other reasons.
Obviously, he ran out of money.
Yeah.
When he paid the 30, and he was supposed to pay 20 later.
He did 5.
He did 5
and 2.
Yeah.
So obviously, diminishing return. So was still quite a substantial amount of money for him to come up with. So that itself, without any hard evidence, tells you that he did the crime. Obviously, where did he get a 30 million from? I know he was the CEO and it was his own bank. But you see, it goes beyond that. I mean, Sly talked about obviously corporate governance and other things. But it even goes beyond that. Because, Samson, human nature, if philosophers will tell you, human nature itself is self-centered, self-interested, selfish. Even people with good intentions or doing something good for society could somewhere along the line, where the self-interest and other things kick in, will try and maximize things for themselves. It is for that reason that we have the police, for instance, or we have people who are supposed to provide, basically responsible for regulatory responsibilities, supervisory, fiduciary, and all the things that the central bank, that's the Bank of Ghana, does. It is clear that it's not only the board that failed in its judiciary responsibility in terms of governance. Fiduciary responsibility in terms of governance, but the central bank itself also failed in its supervisory and regulatory responsibilities. And that this bank and many others were able to get away with things because of the weakness of the regulatory system. And it surprises me because when you go through all the banks, there were different issues. Others even presented, if that is true, fictitious document to set up some of these banks. That is a clear failure of the regulator on not being able to find these things out. It is surprising. We are talking about board members not being called to answer questions. It's also surprising that officials of the Bank of Ghana nobody has been called at the Bank of Ghana to answer any questions.
I think they gave an indication earlier that the investigation will not end with these private entities, but also people within the Bank of Ghana in the regulatory system.
Well, I don't think we have gone far enough, quick enough. And that the longer it takes, I mean, I know, I say, the wheels of justice grind slowly and all that. But it clearly tells you that there is a failure in our system, especially the banking and the financial system, that what we have done and called a financial cleanup or bailout itself was not, the government did not think through it very well. I know Sly will disagree, and he's already, that they did that to save depositors. They talk about 4 million or so and all that. But if the root cause of the problem has not been resolved, spending 25 billion or 29 billion is not going to solve the problem.
It's only 29 billion.
25 that I know, 25 billion. I think Sly mentioned 29. Maybe he knows more, something more.
We are there. Sometimes you hear
20, I mean, I never keep saying it. I mean, when you even look through the budget, every year comes up. But I guess they are still, spending.
We understand that this 25 billion is part of why our economy, the shocks were not strong enough.
Absolutely.
And therefore we are suffering all
Absolutely. It's very clear that spending and that's where we disagree. That, again, let me use this simile, as the literature people call it, that what this government did was to throw away the baby with the bathwater. What our option before we left office was to throw away the bathwater and save the baby.
The claim was that about 8 billion of that amount could be used to survey the situation.
Even less.
Okay.
Because even when the NPP came to power, they increased the minimum capital, they took it from 120 to 400. So even at 400, if you want to save all 9 banks by recapitalizing them with the full minimum capital requirement, you will only need 3.6 billion to do that. That's 9 times 4. So having to use 25 billion to do what I believe, yes, you talk about.
But when you talk about 9 banks, you don't forget that there were also 347.
Absolutely. When you add it all together, about over 420, but I'm talking about just the banks. And then you probably will require the same amount of money. So maybe, yes, if you say 3.6, maybe 4, so maybe another 4 or 5. So 9 would have done the trick. But to go and spend 25 billion, and it doesn't look as if the problem has actually been cured. There is still a systemic risk in our banking. There is lack of investment coming into the banking sector. Banks are not doing well, but we are given the picture that these banks are doing well. The banks are not growing because what they have basically done is a forced acquisition of banks that were weak, added to other banks that were already weak.
To GCB and to Consolidated.
Absolutely. So you will look as if your customer base actually grown, but it's not an organic growth. It is basically adding on to it.
But what do you think about this judgment that it's deterrent? Those who are also in similar circumstance, those who have already been put in court, those who are about to be put in court, what do you think may be going through their mind as they...
It's definitely the case that people should not be allowed to do things against the state or against all of us and get away with it. As you said, this is probably, in my recent memory, the crime case that seems to have seen some light in the day. And there's so many of this, and we never get any finality to it. So this is good. This is a deterrent. Those who are yet to be, to be looked at, I hope that they are able to find the evidence to also prosecute them if they have done something wrong.
Okay.
But this prosecution and all the things that are going on could have still been achieved without necessarily closing the banks. That's what I'm saying. The bathwater, you can throw it away and save the baby.
Right. Let's go to the lawyer, Bobby Benson.
The bathwater in this case is the likes of ACN.
They did it. And the monies that had been stolen were part of the monies that you gave for the purpose of which you are suggesting today. And you failed to control. And these are the results. So what were you talking about?
Then in 2016.
The banks were at least 2014. You gave them money. You gave them money.
But there was a report.
A report. You gave them money.
Yes. There was a report that was commissioned. That was done.
Yes.
That showed that the banks were not in good health.
No. When we did the asset quality review.
That's right.
It highlighted the distress or the challenges that the banks had at the time. And some of the remedy was to give them this liquidity support while we tighten the laws in terms of regulatory,
when you gave them the liquidity support, how did you supervise that?
And also protect customers.
All right.
It was a process.
Bobby Banson.
And they had a knee-jerk reaction of basically just closing the
let's get the lawyer to try and explain something
away with the water.
Something for our viewers and listeners on. Hello, Bobby.
Hello, Samson.
Great, good to have you, Bobby Banson. Now,
greeting to my senior colleagues in the studio.
Right. The judge said in one of the sentences, he said, I was minded to impose a sentence close to the maximum of 25 years. However, taking into consideration that an amount of 37 million Ghana cedis has so far been paid or recovered, I impose a sentence of 15 years. That's in respect of stealing. Now, we have seen 16 counts, pleading guilty to all of them, and therefore being sentenced on each one of them. In totality, in excess of 90 years. How come he's going to do only 15 years? Which, in fact, if you look at the prison, how the prison service works, it's not exactly 15 years, it's less than 15 years.
Well, I believe that once the judge had found him or he had pleaded guilty to each count, the judge had the responsibility or the jurisdiction to pronounce the sentence on each count. And so for each count that he had pleaded guilty to, there must be sentencing after the conviction on each count. However, the judge has the discretion based on the circumstances of the case to decide whether these sentencing will run consecutively or concurrently. And by concurrently, it means that whilst he's serving time for the conviction on the stealing, he would also be serving time on the conviction for the money laundering. So every day that he's in prison for all the offenses that he had been convicted and sentenced for. So it means that it is the one that has the highest number of years that he will end up spending time for. So if the stealing, then we know that the judge could give up to 25 years. The judge decided to give him 15 years, with the others 2 years, 3 years, as it were. It means that at the end of the period, it is the maximum sentence period, custodial period, that he would be made to spend time for.
Okay.
And the 15 years for these circumstances, it's unfortunate that somebody who had been celebrated as a young Ghanaian at that time started, we all know before it became a bank, it was a microfinance, developed, obtained license, and all of that. That would be the end of his business empire. But that is what it is. We are where we are. And it's a lesson for all of us and a testament to the fact that justice is no respecter of persons.
Right. Now, people also want to understand, on the back of what the Deputy Attorney General said to the media, that they wish that they had gotten all the money, but, well, they are happy they have gotten 37 million, and that they didn't lose that one, and the potential that even what is left could also be lost. People are asking, then why was the Attorney General in a hurry to go back to the court to ask for the custodial sentence when, according to the agreement that they reached, the agreement expires in December of this year? Why didn't they wait? So, and I'll show something here with you. The lawyers for the accused, for example, said, quote, "We are not taking advantage of the leniency that the court has shown us." Then they prayed that the court should temper justice and give us more time. They asked for 6 more months. Then the court said, "I have heard learned counsel praying for further time for the convict to pay the outstanding 53 million. The basis of the prayer is that there is an appeal pending in respect of a certain case, and also the, they relied on a certain Asian Swiss, which they said was going to be giving money to them, and that had become a matter for a court when there had been a judgment.
And the court said, therefore, that they cannot wait for abide by the uncertain date in the future for that to happen. The lawyer also indicated when he was, and this was only when he was doing mitigation, I must state that to you, that he had property which he made an offer of giving to the state. It says, indeed, he made an offer of giving the water treatment plant located at Pram Pram, which is valued at $10 million, enough to offset the outstanding 53 million Ghana cedis, and also the debt that other people have sued them as an SCN to get. Why do you think the state could not wait for this, but put him in and potentially lose the opportunity of getting all the money?
Well, I think the Attorney General acted based on the provisions of the Section 35 that even allowed the plea bargain in the first place. That provision states that if for any reason the convicted person, because at that time you are already convicted on your own plea, you default in any of the installment payment, the Attorney General must go back to the court and then ask for the entire sum to be due and payable, in default of which then there will be custodial sentencing. And so as you narrated, Mr. Asian, after the first installment, kept defaulting in the other monthly or the scheduled payments, and kept asking for adjournment and giving reasons why there is the delay. But at that point, like we know, once you owe, you've agreed to pay, the creditor, in this instance being the state, is not concerned about how you would raise the money. They're only interested in getting the money due in the state account within the time. And since the law, the Section 35, states that once you default in a single payment, the AG would come to court and ask for all the amount to become due. If you are not able to pay all the amount to become that had become due, then the court must then impose the custodial sentence. You said this morning, Samson, that the plea bargain only means that the custodial sentence has been suspended.
In fact, indulge me, this is what the court said on that. So he was supposed to pay, the next payment was due on the 28th of April 2023. On the 28th of April 2023, there was a payment to be made on the 31st of August 2023, and then the final payment was to be made on the 15th of December 2023. So the dates again, which he defaulted. The second payment, or which is rather called the first payment, separate from the deposit of 30 million, was to be made on or before Friday, the 28th of April 2023. Then the second one was to be made on the 31st, on or before the 31st of August 2023. And then the final payment was to be made on or before the 15th of December 2023. Now, this is what the court said. The court said, the court accepted the terms of settlement and noted in the judgment delivered on the 13th of December 2023 as follows, quote, the passage of custodial sentence is hereby suspended. However, the guilty plea and the conviction would always hang around the head of William Atu Essien as a sword of Damocles until all the monies have been paid in accordance with the terms and timelines agreed and accepted by the court. I order that if the convict defaults in the first payment of the amount of 20 million Ghana cedis or makes some payment short of that 20 million cedis by the 28th of April 2023, the whole of the amount of 60 million Ghana cedis shall become due and payable by the convict upon failure to pay to the terms of the agreement entered into and adopted by the court with its further conditions imposed by this court. The agreement will be deemed to have come to an end. In that event, the prosecution shall immediately, after the expiration of the whole of the day of 28th of April 2023, caused the immediate arrest of the convict and produce him before the court as soon as practicable for the custodial sentence to be passed on him according to law. So, but why? There's the 15th of December. Why don't you wait till then to see whether he has paid all of the money?
Well, like the judge, and that's Justice Chebafo, he's very meticulous in his rulings. He will cover every aspect, whether you agree with him or not. He will let you know that he considered every aspect of the argument, so that you are not left in any doubt that he understands exactly what the position of the law is. Remember, the plea bargain law actually gives the judge some discretion to even refuse to accept the payment, which he exercised that discretion when they came to him with the first offer for settlement. And so he was informing both the Attorney General and the lawyers for Atuation that I also have a role to play in this whole thing. And that in the event that there is any breach, do not think that I will entertain any attempt not to deliver justice as dictated by the provisions of the Plea Bargaining Act. And so with the 28th April breach, not default, not payment, the 15th August, no payment, I think the Attorney General may have assessed the entire situation. I heard you said that the lawyers had even offered that they had a 10 million worth of
water treatment plant.
Yes,
$10 million.
And Honorable Sylvester said, with his naked eyes, that property is not even worth $2 million. And so if the Attorney General had assessed the situation and they are convinced that there was no money coming from anywhere, I believe that they just decided that they don't have to waste anybody's time, because the state also loses resources continuing to persecute this case. Remember, Justice Chebafo has been promoted to the Court of Appeal. Has had to come back all the time to finish this. And so I think in the previous discussions involving the Attorney General, they had stated that there was not any traceable asset of Mr. Essien that could be attached and sold in satisfaction of the judgment debt. And so if the state thinks that upon this or these two dates that there has been default, there's no light at the end of the tunnel. We don't have to waste anybody's time. Let's just go for the head of the man and put him in jail. At the end of the day, if he is able to make further payments and he has filed an appeal against the sentencing, the Court of Appeal may look at his attempts to restitute the state and then decide whether to reduce the sentencing based on his subsequent conduct.
Right. The judge had actually noted one thing too, which is worth, reading. The property that they said was seeing to the sale of their assets, and out of which he was going to get money periodically, and then used to pay the judgment sum or the settlement sum. The court had this to say about that. He said, the property from the record subsequently made available to this court shows that the property has been the subject of execution by a company called Keymed Travel and Tour Limited. This fact was known to William Atuation at the time he made the deposition to use the same to pay the monies owed the Republic, and yet he did not deem it fit to have made full disclosure to the court that the property was encumbered. The judge was angry about this. It took those who got judgments in that case to write a letter to the court to bring this to the notice of the court. Do you think this also got him to not reduce the sentence as much as it was expected may have been?
I believe the imposition of sentence is at the discretion of the court. The court will look at all the circumstances of the case, the sign of remorse by the convicted person, the conduct of good faith. And like I said, Justice Chebafo is one that will let you know that he has considered every possible angle. And so he will bring it in the judgment for you to know that, hey, if you intended to actually liquidate this amount, you would have made it obvious that, okay, this property has been encumbered, so it cannot be a source of funding within the within the short to medium term. These are my assets. And I believe that he, as the sitting judge, should have considered all these facts before deciding to impose 15 years. He could have even imposed 20
I understand that this involved a lot of money, which was going to come to him. And the judgment against that company was for only 7 million. So he may not have erred in saying, I'm going to get money from here.
But something we all know that when a property is encumbered, before you can discharge it from the attachment and make it available, that process, if it's litigation, can even take 2 years.
Right.
3 years. But there was a deadline for all these monies to have been paid, which is December 2023. And so the judge, sitting there with all his experience, saw that between now, October 2023, and December 2023, may not be an opportune time for that property to have been discharged of the encumbrance and subsequently liquidated to enable Mr. Atuesian to make...
As if you are in the mind of the judge. And this is what the judge said. That it's, after noting all of this, he says, clearly, therefore, the likelihood of any monies emanating from any sale of the Pram property to liquidate the monies that the convict agreed to pay before this court was only unlikely to materialize, even if the court were to afford the convict the further 6 months being demanded.
Well, there we go. Like I said, as to be expected of Justice Chebafo, he will let you know he has considered every possible angle. And it's like we said, we are not celebrating the imprisonment of Mr. Atuesian. I believe that his story, his success story, was one that inspired a lot of people. But as it stands now, it is what it is. He pleaded guilty, agreed to make the payment within the time that he signed. In negotiation, he could have asked for 2 years. He could have asked for 3 years.
Right.
But he decided to ask for up to December 2023. And the law is very clear. If you default in doing so, the court's jurisdiction to pass the custodial sentence would be invoked. And so he had to lie on the bed that he's made. It's very unfortunate, but it is what it is.
All right. A final thing I would like you to help us look at is, and there's this book-long guy at the presidency, the vice president's office. He's a neddy of a vociferous, a voracious reader, Evron Hughes. He said, on the back of these things that was going on social media, I checked his account a number of times, his platform. He said, on Judgment Day, accountability is personal. So people must watch. People are saying, what happens to the other board members? What happened to Dr. Otabel? Why is it that this guy is being sacrificed and so on and so forth? That's why this statement is sort of critical for me. He says, on Judgment Day, accountability is personal. What would you say to those who are saying that it's not fair to deal with him the manner he has been dealt with?
Something. In respect of why the other members of the board are also not facing charges, right?
Yes, particularly Dr. Mensa Otabel.
Well, let me make this disclosure. I attend Dr. Mensa Otabel's church, but I have not had any personal dealings with him in my life, ever. I have never represented him in this. But this is my understanding of the law, as I see it, as I say it, irrespective of the persons involved. Now, corporate governance dictates that if you're a member of a board, either executive or non-executive, even to the point of board chairman, because before you become a board chairman, you are a director first. And so in that role, if there is any conduct of the company that is approved by the board, then the members of the board together as a unit are responsible, either in a civil proceedings or in a criminal proceeding. However, because criminal law dictates that before you find somebody guilty of a criminal offense, you must be able to prove the mens rea, the intention of the person. And so there are various angles to this. There is the criminal negligence, and there is the mere civil negligence. Now, the members of the board of the Capital Bank is not only Dr. Mensa Otabil. As you stated in your opening, in your submission, Samson, there is a lady, Madam Kate
Kote Papafio,
who was also charged with these persons. And at the end of the day, her lawyer submitted a case of submission of no case after the prosecution have closed their case, and she was discharged and acquitted.
That's right.
That's one. Two, the Attorney General has stated that they took or they questioned or investigated, for lack of a better word, every single member of the board, not only of Capital Bank, but there are other banks that the board members are also facing. Some board members are facing criminal prosecution. I can readily speak of the Unibank case, where some members of the board are facing a criminal prosecution. Something you know that in the Unibank case, some board members are acting as prosecution witness in the Unibank criminal case. Some of the directors are acting as prosecution witnesses.
In the Capital Bank case, it was no different.
Yes, so it means that the mere fact that you are a director of a bank or of a corporate entity does not mean that they can impute criminal intent on you when the company acting through specific persons engage in crime.
All right.
And so there again, you have an instance where Mr. Atuesian has pleaded guilty alone. If Mr. Atuesian's legal team or himself were convinced that there were members of the board that participated in the crime, nothing stopped him from mentioning these members of the board in the course of the investigations or the report.
Okay.
He would not have taken the full responsibility to pay all these monies if he wasn't the only one who spent it.
Okay.
Now, on the flip side, I am aware of civil actions that have been commenced by the receiver against companies such as Otabil and Associates to recover monies that had been paid to these companies.
Civil process commenced on the 2nd of November 2018. And anytime we discuss this issue here, the criminal aspect, I have given the disclosure that I am counsel for Atuesian in that case.
Very well.
Yeah, so
you see that the same set of facts could give rise to criminal prosecution and civil liability.
That's right.
If the Attorney General was convinced that there was any criminal intent, not only against Dr. Mensa Otabil, but other members of the board, because the board of Capital Bank was not only Dr. Fitzgerald Odonko, Mr. Tetenate, and Dr. Mensa Otabil and Atuesian. There were other members.
That's correct.
And so if the Attorney General was convinced that there was criminal intent on the other members' part by this siphoning of accounts, the Attorney General would have brought the prosecution against them.
All right,
and
thank you.
I've said that these discussions or these comments on social media, if we are saying that as a nation, we need a public inquiry because something you made reference to corporate governance. You see, before 2018, the Bank of Ghana did not have any concrete corporate governance requirement or restrictions for the financial sector.
That's correct.
For example, somebody could be a director, a managing director, or a director of a bank for 10 years. It did not happen in any country. But in Ghana, we allowed it to happen. And so I believe
now you can do that only for 4 years, right?
Yes, for 4 years. So the PricewaterhouseCoopers investigative report that has detailed the causes of these financial collapse is in the public.
Okay, thank you.
That engaged in criminal conduct is the one that...
Thank you about that. And the reference to Kate Kote Papafio, the fourth accused in that case, this is what the court had to say when the court discharged her on the submission of no case. The court said, the fourth accused person acted childishly, but the law does not punish the foolish, but the one who acted with evil intents. End quote. That's how that businesswoman got off. The others,
if you look for the judgment of 13th December, you should find it. And in the civil case, let me just list what you find in there. In the civil case, the first defendant, there are 16 defendants. The first defendant is William Atuasian. The second defendant is Mensa Anamwa Otabel. Third, Oheniba Osei Akoto. Fourth, Stephen Encho. Fifth, Kingsley Atta Gansa. 6, Otabel and Associates. 7, International Central Gospel Church. 8, Kwejo Ayisi Ashring. 9, Isaac Osa Thompson Mensa. 10, John Kofi Mensa. 11, Edwin Obeng Donko. 12, Fitzgerald Odonko. 13, Amadou Montia. 14, Kofi Kwakwa. 15, Francis Edumante. And 16, Isaac Osei Thompson Mensa. And if you check, there are clear amounts that are being demanded against each one of them. And they were said to be shareholder loans that were advanced to them. So if you see ICGC, for example, they are supposed to pay, they are being asked to pay 7 million plus thereabout. So that's true. There's a civil case that is also going on side by side. We'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll briefly deal with the OSP's petition for the removal of the judge. And then we'll move to Professor Frimpong Boateng's report that the Attorney General says is empty, contains no evidence to be used to prosecute anyone. Why are people angry about that? We'll be right back.
The professor had made specific allegations against named individuals in his report. The president had directed the CID to investigate the allegations. The CID of Ghana Police Service indeed built a docket after critically going through a process of interviewing and indeed examining all the persons who were named in the report. Each of the individuals named in the report, a statement was taken from them, and against whom allegations have been made by Professor Frimpong Boateng. In the statements given by each of the individuals, they categorically denied any allegation against them.
But that is expected, isn't it?
Precisely. So then what is the burden? The burden then is to investigate the matter further. And who was in a better position to assist the CID with the corner to investigations than the person who alleges that these individuals were engaged in wrongdoing? And the professor clearly, as recorded in the docket of the CID, refused to cooperate. A number of attempts were made to take statements from him. He even refused to give a written statement. He stated that it was relying on the bare allegations contained in his report. The CID proceeded further to prove all the allegations against each of these individuals. And they could not unearth anything at all. Indeed, I request of you, the media, to supply any piece of evidence against any individual named in the report which has not been discussed.
Oh, Charlie, close the window small. Your room be too bright, oh.
Why, you be vampire where you know they like sunlight?
Oh, my guy, my eyes. Behind the PC problem. In the sun problem. Common light bulb stuff.
This no matter. I beg go Robert and Sons. Oh, yeah. Then my chick to him, I know correct. Cry. Where Robert and Sons sort them out sharp. Now, so stylish frames in the rock.
We go Robert and Sons right there. No, I was sitting inside proper.
For over 25 years, Robert & Sons continues to provide specialist eye care for both adults and children. Locate us at Adabraka, Adenta, Kumasi, Usudankwa, Tema, Weja, and East Legon. Call 050-151-9111. Robert & Sons, seeing is believing.
My way insurance, send my way,
my name is Nanama McBrown, and I want to encourage you to dial *165# on MTN to join the My Way family. My Way provides you and a selected family member a cover against death. As a policyholder, you will also have a cover against total permanent disability and hospitalization should you be hospitalized for more than 2 nights. Dial *165# and join the family. Sanya my way. Kasa no way.
Sanya my way. Kasa no way. My Way is a product of My Life and MTN Momo. Terms and conditions apply.
Paint is made with superior formulation to give superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo Paint, simply superior.
With them, they are DSU. As I can introduce DBS lifestyle gauge trusses. Emma, they say, baby, I say, Yama, the day. And you know you do dance. And no crow. No, send in your benina, and your papa. So DBS lifestyle gauge trusses. Yet the computer not generated. Into Ed Nadine goes for a straight. And if you say a Nadinti, then want to mean the enemy. And good answer, after finito. More musicians saw that. More music factories. And I said, that is Biano. Me recommend DBS trusses. DBS trusses. Finito.
Pascal's showing his boss the efficient new technology they've installed. She is pleased. But now she's asking, why is that still there? Pascal explains that the wells can store many, many messages. The boss is not so pleased anymore. If you haven't upgraded your contact center yet, it's time to get business done better with MTN Business.
About 1/3 of a million people live with HIV in Ghana. Close to 10,000 of them die each year, mostly as a result of a lack of antiretroviral drugs and adherence. In fact, close to 57% of children under 14 years living with HIV do not receive antiretroviral drugs, again as a result of inadequate funds to provide them with medication.
Life expectancy for these children is grim. The big worry, close to 16,300 people are newly infected with HIV each year. With this alarming rate of HIV infections, all of us are in danger, and Ghana is headed for an epidemic explosion if nothing is done now to avert it. While the Ghana AIDS Commission is working hard to overturn the situation, the Commission urgently needs funding support from corporate Ghana and individuals to save lives. We're therefore appealing to you, corporate entities and individuals, to support the National HIV and AIDS Fund by dialing *9898# on MTN and Vodafone and follow the prompts, or pay into the National HIV and AIDS Fund account number 101-863-161-3233 Bank of Ghana. Your donation will be used to prevent new infections and provide care for people living with HIV, including children affected by AIDS. For further information, please call Ghana AIDS Commission on 0302 919260 or email info@ghanaids.gov.gh. Give to save a life today. Ghana AIDS Commission, partnering to eliminate HIV and AIDS.
You're here on Newsfile. This is your most authoritative news analysis platform, and here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. You call yourself the Yao Ming. He's just a scapegoat. They won't tackle any other person.
they are just using him to score cheap points in case a challenge is thrown at them in relation to the corruption in the banking sector. Felix Tabin also tweets, says, I suspect his prosecution is because he went out there to talk and even spoke in other tongues. As long as the others negotiate with them, forget it. Rock GH says, I think his sentence is a win for Ghana. Let's take steps to recover the outstanding amounts. There's no order in the judgment for any outstanding amount to be recovered. I stand to be corrected, but as I have read the sentencing order, I don't see it there. Maybe in the main judgment that was suspended. But you have heard Attorney General they have not told you that it is there. So there's no such order. Nyeko Kompa 1 says, in Ghana, nothing can ever happen to a sitting government member, even if it's common branch executive who goes against the law of the country, while more talking about those at the top there. Don't get the point. Perot Musa says, if this man were an MPP member, guess who would have stepped in to clear him? Anand St. John says, those who spent huge amounts of money to collapse the banks should be in jail, not those who were facing business challenges. Interesting comments there. And Kojo says that, but he was charged with conspiracy as well. Who did he conspire with? Well, there were 3 others who were acquitted and discharged, so maybe that's all about it. People like to read a lot into stuff. Prince Henry Koforidia says, Atuesian is jailed. What happens to Dr. Mensah Otabel, and why is Nam1 still walking free? Family and friends, MPP government led by Nana and Baumia, we collapse indigenous banks just for some selfish reasons. Really? As we speak, President Akufo-Addo hasn't made any comments on the happenings in the Volta region regarding the dam spillage. Nana-Addo must know that he is the president for Ghana. The future is pregnant. Thanks for your message as well. But I guess we can pause here with your messages. A very final one, Musa Bato says, I find it difficult to understand why Atuesian was sentenced alone. He pleaded guilty to the charges. Is it because Atuesian refused to sell Capital Bank to Data Bank? That's why he's languishing in jail. If Ghana were the bona fide property of the Akufo-Addo, Kenoforiata, and Baumia, will they have used 20 billion to collapse banks instead of using 8 billion to keep them afloat? All right. Thank you for those messages. Now, let's get back and very briefly, as I said, very briefly on the special prosecutor saying that, asking the Chief Justice to have the judge recuse himself or take his cases to other places. My guest, Bobby Banson, Sylvester Mensah, Sylvester Tete is still here. Kweku Ricketts-Hagan is also still here. Let me begin on this note with Bobby Banson. Bobby, in law, is this unusual? Is it not normal? Why do you think it's taking the attention of the public this way?
Well, it's not unusual. I think in our own private cases, you had cause to believe that the judge may have made prejudicial statements in the course of the matter that made you think that the judge had already is biased.
Exactly what they think.
Sorry?
Exactly what they think.
Yes, and there are various means of pursuing this angle. You could petition the Chief Justice, which I believe the OSP has done, or you could actually file a formal application for prohibition to the Supreme Court in exercise of its supervisory jurisdiction to restrain the judge from continuing the case, and for the Supreme Court to ask the Chief Justice to transfer the matter to another court. Remember, it is only the Chief Justice per the provisions of the Courts Act that can transfer suits to another matter. Now, what was interesting for me is the fact that the OSP has filed criminal charges against Madam Cecilia Dapaah only for refusing to provide certain information to the OSP. So it is not as if Madam Cecilia Dapaah has been charged for the money laundering, corruption, those things that the OSP says he's investigating.
And that matter is also before the same judge.
Exactly the point that, piqued me, that I will raise my interest, that the judge exercising, for lack of a better word, jurisdiction in the investigation applications, the interlocutory applications, is the same judge that this matter has been sent to do, to handle the criminal charges. And if you read some of the contents, and this is without prejudice to the outcome of the petition or without prejudice to the investigation, I'm only saying based on the facts that are available before us. If you read the contents of the ruling of the judge in the original application that was filed by the OSP to freeze the first one, the account.
To freeze and confiscate the monies.
That the judge dismissed. The judge made certain comments that went, I think, in my humble opinion, that went beyond the ambit of the original application. Because that original application was to freeze the account. If the judge was of the opinion, which I agree with him in terms of the law, that the application should have been brought within 7 days, and it was brought outside the 7 days. And so the application was dead on arrival, by time. As lawyers could see. I believe that it could have ended there. But to go beyond to make comments on how the Madam Cecilia Dapaah would suffer, and I think those comments have also featured in the previous appearances before the judge. I think this week or so, that he was abridging time for some applications because in his opinion, Madam Cecilia Dapaah is suffering or would suffer as it were. Then it gives the OSP that basis to seek, those prohibitory orders in whatever form. Again, I'm not saying the OSP is right. I'm only trying to explain it from the facts that have been laid before us. Now, whether that the Chief Justice will exercise the discretion to do that or not is another matter.
But Bobby, normally it is we, the private practitioners, who raise issues against judges we don't want here and there, not institutions of the state. Is that not the case? Is it not?
Yes, but I believe this goes to show how the states are working, the state entities are independent of each other, no matter what the public perception is. Because one would have thought, or it's been said, that if you are going against a government entity, as it were, the OSP being appointed by this government, him going against a government appointee, then it should have been something that would have been, gone the other. But you see the OSP, and for me, Samson, because this is the first time we are having the OSP, I'm really happy with the way we are testing the law, the OSP Act, because there is also an application to restrain the OSP from investigating, which I find very
a human rights application.
Human rights application, which I find very interesting. Now, we want to see whether a high court or a judge, for that matter, would restrain a state entity from carrying out its statutory mandate
of investigations.
But
this is not strange. You remember Charles Bissiou has filed a similar process, right?
That was what, and you remember my conclusions on that part, that the Supreme Court has made it clear that you cannot use an injunction to restrain an entity from discharging its statutory obligation.
Okay.
Or mandate.
Let's be careful. So we are not found to be commenting on the substantive matters. We here at Multimedia, Cecilia Dapaah has already sued us in defamation, so we have to be careful. We can't afford too many of these things. It costs a lot to defend these matters. But you said, apart from petitioning, or instead of petitioning the CJ, you could actually file a prohibition process in the Supreme Court.
Yes.
But don't you think that normally the grounds that you advance for against a judge sitting on a matter, if they put it in a suit,
That would be embarrassing, because if the grounds include very sensitive matters, they would have, if they put it in the suit before the court, that would become a public document. But when you file a petition to the CJ, that will be done in camera, closely. Is that not the best way?
Well, it's as it stands now, we have the OSP, and I think that it's a very wise decision, has not made public yet. I have not seen it yet, the content of the petition. You see, the petition to the Chief Justice would be in exercise of her administrative role as the head of the judiciary. But once you file the prohibition application to the Supreme Court, then you are asking the Supreme Court, which the Chief Justice may not sit on that panel,
right,
to exercise its supervisory jurisdiction. And that is where, because the Supreme Court said in application for prohibition, it is not mere suspicion of bias or prejudice. There must be concrete evidence. And so the basis that the OSP office has to argue that the sitting judge is biased or has made prejudicial comment, like you rightly said, must be properly outlined in the affidavit in support if they file an application on prohibition. So I believe they have looked at the public angle, sentiment, and to let it be as it may be that they do not want to, or they are seen to be antagonizing the judge.
Well, as you have heard me suggest before, I think it will be a lazy media house that will not follow anything that the OSP is involved in a court. So I think that maybe it may be the best way to do a petition which will be heard in camera than to put it in a suit, which the media will definitely go and get it and start serializing, you know, if it is certain matters that you don't have to put in the public. All right, thanks for that. What do you say about that too?
I mean, something, this is quite simple. A court-owned processes. I mean, this is not the first time somebody has petitioned a court for a judge to recuse himself of a particular matter. And I think that the public is particularly interested in Cecilia Dapa's case, and we all interested. Like you said, from...
And now FBI has come in.
FBI and all that. I was taken aback to learn that FBI has come into this matter, Ketsi, the special prosecutor. I think that we have to differentiate the office of the special prosecutor from the person of Kisi Ejabin. People are confusing the two, and they are taking him on personally. That is why I think it's most unfortunate. We must understand the law that set out that office and the remit within which he working. So for all you know,
those who are actually insulting him and his competence are MPP people. When you disagree and you want to tell them to stop doing that?
Yes, of course. I mean, you don't have to. I mean, the fact that you've been given...
Those who don't know a quarter of the law
you've been given a job to do. You are working within the remit of the law. And like you rightly said, people did not even know that the Section 2 of the OSP Act mandate him to prosecute. So they thought that he only go and...
prosecute, recover, and prevent.
So his remit is so huge. So people thought that we'll go and make an arrest and hand the person over to the police. No. In the same way, we'll challenge the remit within which he works. If he goes beyond his remit, we'll challenge it. So for me, if you're an MPP person, the president has given him a job. First of all, you have to check. I mean, if any of us finds ourselves on the wrong side of the law, and Madam Cecilia Dapa is an MPP person, she's a mother and everything, you pray and you assist him legally, whichever way possible you think can circumvent this whole processes, other than insult. If you insult him, today, if Kisi Ejabin is no more the special prosecutor, the office is still there. The piece of legislation that set it out has not been changed. So it will be applied.
Do you even feel that some of the attacks can discourage? Because somebody will say, what is it? Is this my mother's or father's work? Please let me give their jobs to them.
The fight against corruption is not an easy task. And you need every state institution, every interested party to collaborate to ensure that we fight against corruption. And those attackers obviously are not pleased with the extent of corruption in our country. It is not today. People are asking, why hasn't the previous... I mean, he's not been appointed to prosecute former officers of the former administration. You are working, and if you are found guilty of the law...
There's this guy, Sir Obama,
who is also a staunch MPP guy, but he can be impartial in the way he raises his criticisms. Very constructive. He says to those MPP people who are doing this that when Kisei Jabi came in, all persons who are politically colored and who were accused of some corruption matters or some crime had already been put before court by the Attorney General. So the OSP that you are expecting to go and look for NDC people, there are no more NDC people ready to be prosecuted.
I mean, someone has even been.
So why are you attacking him?
Someone has been convicted. Exactly. I remember the NCA case.
That's correct.
Other cases have been prosecuted and some have been convicted. I think that we have to be patient in this country and really get information about how systems work. And I think the OSP may not have or doesn't even have a personal issue with Madam Cecilia Dapa. It's by virtue of the fact that he's a leader of that office. And you might be surprised to know that some of the advice may be professed by some other subordinates in that office. It's like the Attorney General's office.
Because he's not in charge of prosecution.
He's not in charge of prosecution. These advice that the Attorney General professes of being forwarded to the CID in respect of what we're talking about. Generally, perhaps other officers who profess legalistic opinion and will be forwarded to the AG to see.
Okay.
Many a times the AG does not write opinions personally.
Right.
But these are seasoned lawyers that have worked.
No, the AG's advice we are going to look at now. He didn't write. It was Kelson who did the advice. That is the AG who is taking all the flack. Yes.
Something I think this whole, OSP position is a learning curve, even for the occupant of the position and the institutions within the judiciary itself and all of us. So a lot of things are happening that perhaps many of us don't understand, especially those of us who are not lawyers. It may have our own interpretation because of the idea that the special prosecutor has been brought in to basically look for corrupt people. I mean, that is the general, perception. But the difficulty for me, and then he's the second occupant.
Perception or reality, that's why he was set up.
Well,
prosecute corruption.
Yes. So,
and we agreed that attorney generals are ministers of justice. They sit in cabinet. They can't prosecute their own.
So the boundaries are probably not clear to everyone, though we know that is his job. But how far does he go? And these are some of the things that we are talking about. But I said the challenge for me, as he is the second occupant, we know what happened to the first occupant, and then the second one. It's beginning to look like that position is given to you, and then your hands are tied behind your back, to do the job. It is also the belief that there might be people, not the person who made the appointment, but there might be people trying to make the job of the special prosecutor difficult for him by using all available.
So what should the person who made the appointment and people who matter be saying to those other people?
Well, I think, yes, here you may be talking about the president, or you are talking about the president. But I think, and I'm not defending the president, in his view, he might be thinking that, okay, this is an independent position that you have been appointed to go and do your job. So I am not going to interfere. But I think if he gets to a certain point, he himself being a lawyer, it will help by coming in, if he really, wants to deal with issues of corruption, to come and somehow stamp his authority on the position that he has created, but still allow, but there is this belief, because the first one was not successful. And then he came out with all the reasons why he wasn't.
But a quick one, let me find out.
Yeah.
This statement from the OSP, was it directed to the third judge or to the media? Or a petition that he doesn't want?
CJ.
He's made a petition
to the CJ.
Yeah, that's a
so we don't know the content.
It will be difficult to put the content out there. This will be held in camera. So people should be patient. I'm not sure he will just make a statement on nothing. Obviously, he has reasons.
Sure. I mean, obviously, we have to
wait for the CJ's position in this matter.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think there's a level of frustration, that something is not going right. I mean, this, as I said, this is the second person put in that position.
Right.
And we were not successful the first one. And the second one doesn't seem to be, going anywhere quicker.
That's what I say. When I hear people say that the OSP is turning into a monster, I say I thank President Akufo-Addo and Parliament. Only a monster can fight and prevent the monster of corruption that is impoverishing, an otherwise wealthy nation. And the prevention of corruption is such a monstrous, onerous job.
Yes.
For the OSP that it needs our help. That doesn't mean that when they are not doing the right thing, we can't criticize them.
Yes.
Okay, so we take a pause on this matter here, and then we return to look at Professor Frimpong Boateng and his report, which the Attorney General has advised the police that there's nothing in there to prosecute those people that the professor indicts with his allegations. We'll be right back.
You are your own person, unique, one of a kind, special. That's why you deserve everything tailored to suit your particular taste, your preference, your needs. Just like MTN Just For You. You can get customized offers tailored to who you are. Dial *141# or use the MyMTN app to get to choose from a variety of offers made just for you.
For decades, we have helped businesses connect with their trade partners all over the globe. From Ghana to Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries. We have made it possible to bring Ghana to the world. We have brought small and medium businesses closer to their customers across the regions in Ghana with our SME support facilities. We have brought relief and smiles to the faces of families with our employee personal loans. With our cutting-edge technology and digital support, we take the burden of complex thinking off you, making life simple. That is who we are, as close as a partner. Bank of Africa. We are indeed the African bank with the global reach.
Betway is your gateway to a theme park full of gaming excitement. A whirlpool of wonder where your favorite games come to life. Where you can take to the skies with max payouts that reach into the millions. All in the palm of your hand. Visit betway.com.gh. Terms and conditions apply. Betway is regulated by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. No under 18. Bet responsibly. Betway. Bet your way.
Alfred, silver iodide. You're right.
Mark your calendars, set reminders, and get ready for the academic showdown of the year. The 2023 National Science and Maths Quiz. It's time for the brightest young minds in Ghana to battle it out for academic supremacy. Expect mind-bending equations, heart-pounding moments, and nail-biting suspense as the best schools go head-to-head. Who will emerge the ultimate champions and claim the prestigious trophy? Catch the action on TV, radio, and online starting 6th to 24th October 2023.
Your friend Dr. Victor Nana Dankwa, because every big dank healthcare. A private bed and comfort hospital like catch up someone your liver and kidney related conditions. Will be one why you swore fatty liver. Will be why you catch so when you're hydronephrosis. Will be one why you catch so when you're pyelonephritis, which is inflammation of the kidneys. Will be one why you catch and send the kidney issue so be a bitch now. Will be one why you send the creatinine and I send the JFR. And until we also want to see to me tatai. I feel don't send me an atom. Johnson now be Johnson, who was a phone be about training. Kawakuma to him. And until now, Vedan Healthcare, Yamba say, you did not alternative way so, and the sound, Yare.
So, over Vedanka, it was serene environment with ultra modern facilities. As I was showing you, there was Painters, Coca-Cola Runabout, close to Fidelity Bank, Stanchart Ichironuma.
You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform, and here on Newsfile we put Ghana first. So, as you know, let's take you on a brief journey on Professor Frimpong Boateng's report on alleged involvement of government officials on illegal mining and what has happened so far. So he authored the report and said officials at the presidency were heavily involved in Galamsey. He said NPP bigwigs orchestrated his ousting as a minister. He had allegations of 500 missing excavators, which he said is untrue. Leading NPP officials serve as legal counsel for Galamsey suspects. In this particular regard, he was referring to Gabriel Chiridako's firm and its relation to one of the mining firms, which is a matter that he has already been sued by Gabriel Chiridaco. He says MPs sell illegally acquired concessions at 200 Ghana cedis, 200,000 Ghana cedis. Now, the Attorney General's office has reviewed the dossier that the police was working on. The Attorney General says, quote, after a careful study of the report, the various documents and pen drives submitted to the police, we do not find any evidence in support of the allegations made against the persons cited in the report, with the exception of 3 of the accused persons, end quote. We'll tell you who these 3 are. Then, the Attorney General, on that basis, says it is unable to recommend the prosecution of any of the persons cited in the report. However, the Attorney General is awaiting the outcome of the investigations being conducted in the case involving the 3 other accused persons. Now, persons cited in the report as being involved in illegal mining activities, there are 9 of them. Persons alleged to be involved in the sale of excavators are 3 of them. These are the ones that the police is still going ahead and is expecting some results. Persons said to have done acts which directly or indirectly inhibited Professor Frimpong Boateng in his fight against illegal mining, 3 of them. Now, the list of evidence presented by Professor Boateng to the police, a compilation of online publications by a news portal. Attorney General says they are unrelated to the matter at hand. Compilation of signed letters from the Forestry Commission granting approval for the issuance of entry permit to various companies to conduct exploratory activities in specific forest reserves. A compilation of an updated list of small-scale miners permitted to work as at 7th July 2020, a statement given to the police by one of the accused persons with a bank statement of accounts and deposit slip. This is where the Attorney General feels there is some case, so the police should continue. A decision by Straj in a case filed against Professor Frimpong Boateng by one Arnold Agbodo on concessions granted to Professor Frimpong Boateng's son. Straj found that his son had done nothing wrong. Professor Frimpong Boateng had also done absolutely nothing wrong. So this is not related to the case in any way. So the Attorney General says, apart from the statement of one of the accused persons and the attached statements of accounts from a bank which provides some evidence, none of the persons mentioned in the document provide any relevant information in support of the allegations made in the report by the good professor. Now, it is recorded that several attempts by the police to obtain further information from Professor Frimpong Boateng to substantiate the allegations made in the report and assist them to conduct further investigations proved futile. He refused to actually give a statement on oath. He refused to do that. He said the report he issued for the Chief of Staff is all that he is interested in. They should use that. Yes, so that's about it as far as this is concerned. So now, why are people unhappy about the Attorney General's report, which was done by Evelyn D. Kilson, Chief State Attorney, and which ended up saying that only some 3 people, that is Seth Mante, John Oforiata, and Eko Ewusi, who there is some semblance of, thing against them. Let me once again begin with the lawyer with us. Bobby, from reading the Attorney General's report, do you agree with the Attorney General that he cannot go to court on this matter?
Well, it raises interesting questions for me. One, is the Attorney General saying that he would need complaint filed and the involvement of Professor Frimpong Boateng to investigate matters relating to the Galamsey, or to ask the police to investigate matters relating to the Galamsey? 2, maybe the report from the Attorney General is limited to only the persons named in Professor Frimpong Boateng's report. If that is so, then the Attorney General obviously is saying, and I listened to the audio that you played, that if for him there is no complainant in this sense being Professor Frimpong Boateng, Professor Frimpong Boateng decides not to participate and assist the police with their investigations, then they have no basis to proceed. Remember, the Attorney General does not conduct investigations. I don't think the Attorney General's office conducts investigations. No, it is conducted by the police or other state entities, and the report is sent to the Attorney General for the Attorney General to recommend whether prosecution ought to proceed and whether the Attorney General itself will do the prosecution, as in the department, not the officer, the minister. And so, for me, it's as if, okay, let's see, Professor Frimpong Boateng, why don't you want to participate and assist? If you have the best interest of Ghana at heart, and you say that you want to stop all these wrongs, do you have any justifiable basis why you will not collaborate with the state entities? At least go and collaborate with them. If you do and they do not proceed to do the investigations, then we will all know that you have given them the tools and they are just refusing to work. So I have a question, I have not too comfortable with the approach by Professor Frimpong, but if indeed what the AG is saying is true, that they tried to reach out to him to ask him to to assist them with further information, and he refused to participate. On the other hand, whether the AG's office is saying that in the absence of the information from Professor Frimpong Boateng, the police, the other state entities, I think the Interministerial Committee on Galamsey is even dissolved. Mm-hmm. I think so. I don't know where I've not been hearing of them these days. Yes, it is. There is no other source of information that will assist, since they said the persons that they were named in this report flatly denied the allegations. And so the investigators have left it like that. But I think the
Attorney General's report says that police have also done some investigations and it reveals nothing. So it's not as if they just took the professor's document and ended it there. So the Attorney General says investigations by the police have not revealed any evidence in support of the allegations. The allegations are therefore bare and do not provide a basis for any criminal charge
against the persons cited in the report, except the 3 mentioned.
Well, then that's for me. That's if the police have done investigations beyond the ambit of the petition by the or the report by Professor Frimpong Boateng. The police is the state entity that we tasked to do the report. Sorry, to investigate such things. If they say that we do not have any evidence, then the Attorney General cannot prosecute because they cannot do the investigation themselves. But I am waiting to see the outcome of the investigations that would have to continue in respect of the 3 other persons who have been named.
In respect of the sale of excavators, there were some 27 excavators, and these people are indicted as selling. And there was one Ekouzi who has a company that was contracted to sort of move the excavators to safe grounds or safe custody. And then the journalist...
And he was also a member of the committee.
Yes, he had these problems. He was a chairman of the party, I think in the Central Region or somewhere, and he lost that position. And this journalist, Seth Mante, there's a statement which Professor Frimpong Boateng adds, which is being investigated, which the Attorney General has confirmed that this is going on in a particular police station, where he is alleging that his bank or account was the one that was used to receive the monies and then withdrawn and shared among those people.
Well, like I said, now that it's as if the Attorney General have said there are 3 of them that would require further investigations.
Right.
Let's follow it and see if in the course of investigating these 3, there may be basis to draw other persons involved. Okay. Because Samson, at the end of the day, we cannot say that it is only Chinese who came to destroy our water bodies. I have always maintained that the Chinese know Ghana.
Okay. Is it justified for people to say that the report says the people involved that Professor Frimpong Boateng indicts, they were called, their statements were taken, and they denied their allegations? People say it appears this is all that the police have done, and that is not enough. Is it fair commentary on the police?
Well, until we see the extent of the investigations or by the police, an objective bystander looking at how the Attorney General has worded his report would suggest that that is all that actually happened. That if the allegation was made against him, and you see, I feel the Attorney General, for lack of a better word, on his angle saying that they wanted Professor Frimpong Boateng to provide further evidence, to assist them, to interrogate. But whether or not the state apparatus did not have all the gadgets, all the facilities to do the investigations themselves without involving Professor Frimpong Boateng, is something that is also left hanging in the balance.
Professor Frimpong Boateng suggests that he authored this report long ago, and when it became known, the Attorney General appears to have made some adverse commentary and so on. So he doesn't actually expect that, he didn't expect that they would do anything good with it. And as far as he's concerned, it is just lack of interest to investigate. Now, let me get...
if I may just add this. Crime has no expiry date.
That's correct.
So the fact that the police say now, or the Attorney General report say now, that there is no basis for prosecution now, does not mean that in a year's time, in 6 years' time, whatever year's time, Professor Frimpong Boateng decides to collaborate and bring further evidence, those persons cannot be made to face the law. It doesn't mean that.
Okay, so let's remember that this report that became an issue was actually authored by Professor Frimpong Boateng on the 19th of March 2019, and it was titled Report on the Work of IMC So Far, IMCIM So Far and the Way Forward. And he indicted a number of people, or accused a number of people, including Lord Kome, Charles Nite Kotego, Frank Esiedu Bequin, that he's called Protozoa popularly,
Honorable Joseph Albert Kwam, Charles Owusu, and you remember most of these people have come out to deny this publicly. Kwejo Owusu Friye, Captain Retired Edmond Kojo Koda, Donald Enchia, and an unnamed former member of parliament for Wasa East constituency. He named Seth Mante, John Oforiata, and Echo Ewusi, who the Attorney General believes there's something going on, it should go on. Also, he mentioned Gabi Asayochiridako, Kojo Opong, Kruma, and Kweku Bako as people who have done acts which directly or indirectly inhibited him in his fight against illegal mining. What's your view of what the Attorney General has said?
In fact, Professor Frimpong Boateng is the funniest man I've come across in that political space.
Really?
The most funniest man I've come across. And he knows why I'm saying this. Something, he knows it. I gave him a gist on Peace FM, and some people had to call me. You see, he's crying about him being ousted from government. And that's the reason why he's doing all this. In any case, the title of that report is a useless piece of paper. And Attorney General has clearly stated so. It's a useless piece of paper. Targeting people because you've been ousted from government.
Really?
Yes, of course. But you've been in government all this while. You've been in cabinet. The Interministerial Committee is not Professor Frimpong Boateng. It's a committee's work. Why has he authored the report as an individual? He was the minister responsible for environment. That he could have.
He was asked to bring a report.
Who asked him? There's a committee's report to present. He wasn't a committee. He was a chairman of the committee, but it doesn't mean that he's
like the Akansi.
It doesn't mean
Bosremuka. This is what he has done.
Of course,
that he just got up, started writing, and
of course, but the investigation
without basis.
Investigation has backed my claim. Investigations. I mean, you subject that to a litmus test, and what's the results? The useless piece of paper. Listen,
have you heard it said that not all people who lose cases in court don't actually have a case?
But what is it?
Because
if you have a case, why do you lose it?
No, sometimes it's what
you know what they say, that if there's no evidence to a matter, the narrative of the matter could be an evidence in the matter itself. So put out every other thing and look at the narrative of the matter. When allegation was made against his son, he quickly went to defend himself by charge a state institution. Now what he has written about all these people in government, what is it? A committee's report. Is not Frimpong Boateng's report. Why is it that none of the members of the committee has attested to this report? That makes a useless piece of paper. And he's out of government, he's ranting. He's bitter that he's out of government. When people have been given responsibility and he prevented them from working in this country, he was happy because he was in government.
People will tell you Professor Frimpong Boateng is accomplished and doesn't need to be in government.
He could be a surgeon, that is fine, but where he finds himself, it doesn't mean he's a master of everything. It's a useless piece of paper he authored. And now the Attorney General has vindicated some of us on this statement, this piece of report. You work with a committee, okay? So one would have expected that the report would be a committee's report, not Frimpong Boateng's report. He's not the only member of the Interministerial Committee on Galamsey. Why is it that they are not speaking to the report? You make wildest allegations of people holding Galamsey and doing all that. I know some of them who has not even been to a Galamsey pit before. But I'm happy after the police investigation, it's turned out that all he has said is a figment of his own imagination.
I am actually informed that there's in existence presently an interministerial committee on illegal mining.
Fantastic. Yeah. He was only a chairman at the time. So if you are altering a report on your activities, like in Parliament, the chairman of a committee can also author the report for the committee. No, you can have a dissenting opinion on the report. Let that even be captured. But you don't wake up as an individual. If he was given a report on environment, that as a minister, he can so do so. But not when you represent an entire committee with about 6 or 7 ministers. With about 6 or 7 ministers. And because you are out of government, you are ranting everywhere. I mean, some members he's mentioned had sued him. And we'll wait to see the outcome of these things. So, for whatever it is, why would you wait? You go out of government, then we are pursuing this. Has he followed his report with a single letter to cabinet on actions of this matter until he left government? It's a matter of sour grapes. Nothing else.
Okay. Yes, briefly, what do you say about it?
Unbelievable, sir. I feel sorry for Professor Frimpong. And as you rightly said, he's a renowned surgeon. He's somebody...
But this is not called a good teaching hospital.
This is somebody, well, we all apply our trade in different walks of life. And we can be renowned in whatever we do.
Don't be distracted, keep your focus.
Yeah. I am actually quite disappointed about the way he went for the guy. And I thought it was a bit harsh, but obviously... the
bottom line is that in criminal prosecution, you must be taking something to the court with evidential value, and the standard is proof beyond reasonable doubts.
I think for the professor, he has become a bit emotional with this issue, and that is obviously distorted, the things that maybe he could have done differently. But what I'm surprised is that none of these interministerial people have really said anything about his report.
They have.
Because, really? I haven't
denies the existence of the committee's report. So the report is Frimpong Boaten's report.
It's Frimpong Boaten's report. Okay.
You should title it
as our lawyer friend said, justice denied today. You put it, I think, better. And I believe that this is not the end of this report. It will eventually resurface again another time, another period, with probably different players.
To do what I may call a nuisance political prosecution.
Well,
for the optics of it and for votes or what?
By then, the emotions that Professor Frimpong, has employed here would have gone out of everything. And people will look at the report and look at the content and see it as what it is. When you read the report, I have just looked at bits and pieces. But it tells you clearly, with what we are hearing or seeing on the ground, that there is a direct correlation on what is going on. The players that he had mentioned, be it emotional, I don't really think Frimpong, is Frimpong Manso, right?
Frimpong
Boaten Manso is different. Frimpong Boaten really needs to be in government. I think he has actually regretted for going into politics, because he probably didn't think this is how things were going to be.
That these people
he wanted to serve his country, probably.
A cardinal principle of criminal law is that he who alleges must prove.
I agree.
Some say that the Attorney General and police are expecting too much of Professor Frimpong Boaten, that he submitted something to you and you expect him to bring everything. But how else could it be done?
Well, I think they have basically caught him emotionally, and they are playing on that. They realize that the guy has become emotional about he's non-cooperative and all that. So they are using that to basically, obviously, wash him through the tube. But this report will resurface again. I mean, we are in this Ghana, God willing, we stay alive. This thing will come up again. And if it's not, it will come up.
People can sue for malicious prosecution. If you prosecute them without evidence and you embarrass them, they can sue you and they will get money, compensation.
I mean, when it comes up again, we'll look at what is on the table.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. We will take a break here and return to the UTV studios with 16 MPP members joining a conversation by force. We'll be right back.
by another vehicle, your vehicle is a twisted heap and your worst nightmare has only just begun. The other driver's license plate is foreign. You're having an out-of-body experience. Take a deep breath. If you're involved in an accident in another ECOWAS jurisdiction or suffer an accident involving another ECOWAS national here in Ghana, call the ECOWAS Brown Card Secretariat on 0302-733-465. The Secretariat, together with the Police MTTD, will help ensure prompt and fair compensations to victims of motor accidents caused by non-resident motorists traveling to and from other ECOWAS member states. If you buy motor insurance, you're already covered under the ECOWAS Brown Card. Demand the ECOWAS Brown Card Certificate, the ECOWAS Brown Card Insurance Scheme, ensuring your safety everywhere you go in the sub-region.
Le régime d'assurance de la carte de brume de la CEDEAO garantit son forte sécurité partout où vous allez dans la sous-région.
Blend together. Play for fun, enjoy the game. Join today on a bonus spending. Come together, make we play. Games are hold on. Pay out so. Right better, man. Correct us, quick cash out. Bonus. Correct us, quick cash out. Bonus.
Together, we play. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Bet responsibly, not for persons below 18 years. Gaming can be addictive.
From the shores of Ghana to London to record their first album, Ghana's most sensational gospel duo, the Tego Sisters, are celebrating 40 years of music. On Sunday, October 15 at the Accra International Conference Center, Tego Sisters celebrates their 40th anniversary in music with a Gospel Explosion concert. Red carpet start at 4 p.m. Dress code white with a touch of ruby red. Performing artists Joe Metal, Reverend Yawson, Perez Music, Daughters of Glorious Jesus, Empress Gifty, Mary Ganza, Kofi Owusu-Pipra, Cindy Thompson, Nessie, ACP Kofi Sapo, Ophelia Nyantechi, Pat Thomas, Kwame Eugene, Lola and Lolai, Akwabwa. Tickets are going for VVIP 300 Ghana cedis, Premium 200 Ghana cedis, and regular 100 Ghana tickets and table reservation. Dial *899*400# or call 0204-484-534. Media partner. This concert will be staged in Kumasi, Takrade, UK, Canada, and the USA. Powered by Linmut Media Solution and the End Production.
Melcom Super Saver at Seda promo, just the BKK. Enjoy a 15% discount on purchases worth 400 Ghana cedis and above from 11th October to 1st November 2023 at all Melcom stores nationwide. Present your Super Saver card to enjoy this discount. Discount is not valid on items already on promotion. To all our customers, it does say. Terms and conditions apply. Melcom, where Ghana shops.
Introducing Pick 4 from Game Park Games, the easiest lottery to play and win. Pick 4 numbers from 0 to 9 up to 3 times a day to become one of our daily winners. More moolah, more power. Play online at www.gameparkgames.com or dial *946# to play. Game Park Games is regulated by the National Lottery Authority, not for persons under 18. Play responsibly. Pick 4 from Game Park Games. More moolah, more power.
Media people, as journalists, media houses, we operate or we if nobody is listening to this show, next week there won't be news file. So you are there because of your audience. If your audience have concerns, you will take it tell them where they are wrong. If their concerns have any merit, you accept it, but you are not obliged to take it. But what I'm saying is that this does not justify in any way the decision by members of the party to go to that media house. You have no right. Your right is only to complain and then draw the attention of the station to your grievances. But that is where it ends.
Members of the Inky fraternity, I have not heard from you yet. I read your piece. I'm not sure if I finished it up because I disagreed with some of your points, and it's good because me and my clients will disagree. That's fine. But why do you think it is fair and justified the way the GJA and media practitioners have attacked the information minister, for example, about he saying that at the end of his statement that the media should promote a certain sense of national unity of sorts?
Obviously, I also read Mr. Oponkruma's statement, and sincerely, I do not see the justification for the attacks he has received. One, I think he should be commended for reporting to the police. That ministry reported to the police, and I read the police statement, which also said they received a report from the information ministry to act on the matter. So I think that, in my view, should have been a commendation to the Minister of Information. I'm one of those very critical of this government and its handling of the press or media freedom. But if you have an information minister who reports an action of his own party members, and the police have confirmed this, I think he should be commended, and I don't see anything wrong. He did not justify the attack. It is only fair as a journalist. I have also made a statement that says, look, we are fallible and we are bound to, or we should accept feedback, whether positive or negative. We are not bound by the feedback, but you cannot, there are certain things that other media houses do that you, Samson, will not accept on this your show. There are certain things that are said on that program that when they say it on your show, you will either distance yourself or you subject certain people to strict proof.
Right.
So I don't think it is out of place for a minister of information to say that, well, let us use the media.
Manasseh, of course, there are people on this platform. I have insisted, unless they abide by our rules, I will not host them on this show. So they've been blacklisted. I mean, including whoever you want to call the most powerful. But I think the GJA and other media persons, their concern is that when wrong is done, that is not when the government representative in the information minister will be preaching sort of be responsible.
Well, I don't think that, but for this information, the information minister has always been saying it, and I didn't see any form of justification or linkage. And in this case, I am not harsh on the information minister because the action that was taken, which has been confirmed by the police, that this person says MPP people are at this station doing ABs that is wrong, go and get them. The police went in and arrested them. He has condemned the attacks, but for me, and as you have also alluded,
the GJ has a problem that the statement does not condemn the attack.
Well, I don't see any better condemnation than asking the police to get in and arrest them.
But again, the police statement doesn't attribute the report to only the information minister.
Yes, but the police statement also mentions that.
That's correct.
Unless of course we have reason to doubt what the police brought up. Because when I first saw the information ministry statement, I doubted. When I saw the police statement and the police statement said the information ministry asked us or also reported on this matter. And we know what happens when party people are involved in this country.
Right.
And so for me, the government cannot always be wrong. The GJA or whoever wants to take on the information minister, they have the right to do that. We can disagree, but for me, the most important thing now is the ministry saw something wrong with that action. The ministry called the police to go in and effect arrest.
Right, Manasseh, so what's your expectation? What's your expectation after the police said they have arrested 16 people?
My expectation is that these people would go be taken through the legal process, and then justice will be served. I cannot say they should be jailed or whatever. It will depend on the evidence that is taken to court. But I have very little confidence in the police service to act appropriately on these matters when the government of the day is involved. There are so many examples in the past that seems to erode whatever confidence some of us may have.
Thank you. Hold on. Let me go to George Sapong, who is the Executive Secretary of the National Media Commission. Thank you very much, George, for making time to join us once again. So you also issued a statement quite immediately after the development, and you said that the National Media Commission is concerned about the reported attacks on UTV and is working with the Ghana Police Service to address the situation. The Commission is concerned about the increasing use of violence as a preferred method for addressing grievances against the media and journalists. So you said you are concerned and you are working with the police to address the situation. What will be the update? People have been expecting to hear from the police say that people have been taken to court.
Okay, then we are collaborating with the police on this. We are also gathering information that we hope to share with the police as we go on. So we have already met with some managers of UTV, including one of the producers, actually two producers who were on the show on the day, who suffered directly from the attack.
Suffered directly from the attack. How, sir?
So they were on duty, and they were some of the people who were attacked. Isaac actually jokes about it, about how one of them almost carried him like a baby and threw him somewhere in order to have access to the studio. Somehow, let me say that as traumatized as they are putting a very brave face to it, sometimes making a joke, but they are strongly concerned about all of us working to address this problem. Okay. And I think there is an angle to the problem that we need to look at. I said this to UTV when I met them. If you recall, one of the most dastardly attacks on media under the Fourth Republic, very early in the life of the Constitution, was what, please excuse the language in public, what we all refer to as the shit bombing of Kukubako's offices. At the time, all of us were outraged, first about the dirtiness of it and the attack. But even then, the perpetrators stole through the night to do this because they were afraid to own up for this really terrible behavior. So if people walk into a studio, broad daylight, in broad light, but also know that the cameras are on, and do not fear to be captured on television, and also make the kinds of claims that they make, it should suggest to you that we are getting into an area that perhaps we need to change tactics in terms of how we address these issues. And I'm happy that all of you are treating it very seriously.
I was going to ask you that, of course, you have, as the NMC, have been part of some of these things, helping to mediate and resolve them. But should it be a process that is resolved, as in amicably and ended there. Should that be what it should be? And I'm asking because of the benefits that I also have. Presently, and I've said this publicly already, Joy News's former news guy here at Joy FM, Emmanuel Ante, he was brutally assaulted by NPP members while he was covering their demonstration at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle after the 2012 disputed elections. Emma has since suffered, and one medical treatment after the other has not helped. He couldn't work any longer, and as we speak, he struggles to survive. We had Nana Komia, Oboshi Sai Kofi, Elizabeth Ohene, and the rest lead a delegation to the premises of Joy FM and actually went public on the TV to apologize and say nothing will happen again. And then they promised to help the gentleman, but they left him. They've not given him a dime since then. I am in court now defending one journalist also here who was brutalized at the police premises, Latif Idris. The truth of the matter is that Latif is struggling to defeat premature death because of that attack on him. So when I hear that as an attempt to settle, the officers have gone to Peace FM, they have spoken, I feel that may not be sufficient. What do you say?
I completely agree with you. I think that's we've gotten to that point where a certain directness should be our approach. And I think that is the sense in which people like you, Manasseh, and the rest, I give you a lot of credit for your courage in speaking out very early on these issues. At the National Media Commission, we have come to the conclusion that we've tried mediation in these matters. It has not helped the individuals. It has not helped the society. It has not helped the profession. It has also not changed behaviors. And therefore, all of us need to change approach. I strongly believe that anybody who is involved in these things ought to be punished. But beyond that, it's also the bigger question that you raise about how do we address the peculiar needs of victims of attacks. One of the most painful realities in this job is that, Samson, if you look around the world, there is more support for talking about safety of journalists than there is actual support for fixing the problem. And it's worldwide. So you have more NGOs shouting about safety of journalists than they have capacity even to help address, even when they really want to address. Because nobody is going to support them with funding to address situations like what you are talking about. And I think that is why our idea of the coordinated mechanism on the safety of journalists is very critical at this stage. That all of us need to get together again and agree on certain core principles. What do we do to secure justice in moments like this? But also, how do we address the needs of the victims? When Manasseh's problem came and Manasseh had to go out of town, it took the benevolence of people who believed in his work to say, let us support it. But in that circumstance, it is only because Manasseh may not be talking about his family and how they survived in the moment when he was in that difficulty. All these should teach us lessons about where we are now and the things that we need to do. I strongly think that we need to do things differently, and our activism must move also into addressing the peculiar challenges of the victims.
I will find a special time because I need to engage, particularly maybe you and the Minister of Information, on the coordinated mechanism and how people can be a lot more aware of what exactly is happening there and how they can, avail themselves of that mechanism in preventing these things. But as we speak, before the week ended, then another journalist, CTFM, was also assaulted at the Greater Accra NDC regional office at Satla. during a vetting of some parliamentary aspirants. That's for the Ododo. Are you following that as well?
TTFM has already reached out to us on that matter very quickly, and we are working. But there is something, Manasseh, because you bring the Honorable Opon Nkrumah into this, there is something Manasseh said that even though it's not my remit, I think I need to have the courage also to put it on the table. The problem with some of the situation is that when we don't support our allies, then they are caught in the middle. So take somebody like Honorable Opon Nkrumah, genuinely committed to the safety of journalists, genuinely committed to decency in the media. He gets attacks from his colleagues in politics who think that he is exposing them at a moment when they think that he should be speaking for them, but he is committed to principle. So when he doesn't get the support that he needs from us, those people that he considers as allies that he's working for, they were putting him in a very difficult situation. I can understand our colleagues who have reservations about the environment, but we should also understand that he works within a system. It is the same kind of thing I saw in the Kelekuda matter, where I saw that Honorable Kandapa and the lawyer at the National Security, Obi Dixon, were highly committed to helping resolve the matter and were battling their own colleagues within the national security system. At the same time, they had old operatives who believed in the brutal methods that they had used in the past. So while they were managing this tension within, they were also getting attacks from people who otherwise ought to have been their allies. It seems to me that...
I think with Kojo Opon Nkrumah specific, because he has been part of us and gone in there, the GJ and other media people are disappointed about one particular thing. You say there's no justification whatsoever for what happened, correct?
Yes.
In your statement you issued, you didn't have to add anything asking for responsibility on the part of journalists. The media guys are not happy with Kojo because they say consistently he has a comment about media responsibility when he has to talk about the attacks on the media.
We are dealing with very serious things, but sometimes we force a smile. I think there's eternal debate in the profession about the role of irresponsible behavior in exacting these kinds of attacks. And from a pure freedom perspective, we insist that we need to separate the issues. The reason why I would not go at Kojo for this is that, as I have said, we need to understand his context. Okay. And I think that it would be very fair that we admit that context into our analysis of his situation and work with him because he's genuine. Let's work with him because he's committed. But also let me make a statement about the GJA.
Okay, we can do that in a minute.
Yes, the president has indicated in no uncertain terms that the question about safety is so critical to the GJA now that it is a matter on which they are ready to break alliances. And so, for me, I don't take this seeming disagreement too seriously. I strongly think that we are all pursuing the same objective, and there is opportunity for us to work together to promote the safety of journalists in Ghana.
Okay, thank you very much. Time just ran out on us. And that was George Sapon, who is the Executive Secretary of the NMC, that's the National Media Commission. Some of us have had the privilege of seeing him outside of the country and how he is held in such high esteem about the media work that he does across the globe, sought after. We can trust that once he's in, the right things will be done. Manasseh, still, I can take a minute comment from you, and then I'll come to my guests. They can say a minute or two, and then we close. Yes, Manasseh.
Thompson, I'm also here.
Bobby, I forgot about Bobby. Forgive me, please. Yes.
Bobby, your lawyer, go away.
Yes, Manasseh.
Yes, I think all the effort now should be directed to ensuring that the police prosecute these people, so that the statement from the Ministry of Information does not only become a PR gimmick of a sort, because we must get to the end of this. If we want to dwell on what is happening, I argue that the fact that you are criticizing Hamas doesn't mean it is wrong to also say that Israel, when you are also attacking, try to look at the humanitarian laws governing wars and others. So we can have a disagreement, but we should be concerned with ensuring that these people who are picked up do not just vanish.
Thank you very much, Manasseh Azora, speaking to us. And I'm coming to you a minute, teacher. I don't know what you can say. Haj Suleiman says, I think journalists became more vulnerable after the murder of Ahmed Swali. Regardless of what the media station may have done, the invasion of their premises was completely unacceptable. This matter has to be dealt with to its logical conclusion to serve as a deterrent to others. I, however, doubt the police will have the courage to do that. Oh, why? Yes.
Something obviously not only the invasion of the premises of the media house, but any attack or in any form or shape on any media practitioner is unacceptable. And the party MPP has so condemned it. And then we've urged the police to continue with its investigation and prosecution for that matter.
The party as MPP has not been heard condemning its own people. It's just only recently that Alan has got out of this situation. Then we see that he's making a comment about journalists being attacked. What is one of your presidential candidates? What has he not done to journalists? What has he not said? That journalists should be beaten, he wants to beat them up. What has he said to him?
Of the party. You are not taking the condemnation of the party. When the director of communication has issued a formal statement in condemning their act, why?
When people in your party at the very high level have encouraged some of these things,
you think we should not take the condemnation, the position of the party on this matter should not be taken? The party has made a formal position on this matter.
That's clear.
In any case, so that we should accept that.
That's right.
Again, the responsibility of the media itself cannot be swept under the carpet. And I think we need time to discuss this. I've had conversations with a lot of people in the space. Look, the particular act, what A+ did, the media person, the producer, and the host, they equally has a responsibility towards all of us. However, you view it, no matter the wrong, nobody has a right to invade the privacy of anybody, so to say, to the extent that you attack them. Nobody.
So the party says it will punish these people, right?
The party does not punish in criminal matters of this nature.
No. As in, every party has its way of punishing its people.
But what is the punishment of the party? The party can suspend you. It is not.
Do you expect some of these things to happen?
Of course, if they are identified to a constituency and polling station.
They've been identified.
I don't know that.
They have. They have been identified. Yeah.
The party can suspend them. Would the media be happy after a party suspending them? No. I think the right thing is the police investigation, and the police acted swiftly. And I'm happy that they've collaborated the story of the information minister reporting the matter to the police.
I think that has not been in doubt.
Yes, I mean, some people were doubting. So it shouldn't nail the party for some members of the party. It's not the party that sanctioned it, but their sympathizers and members.
What will you say?
Something I think there's no justification, for that.
Coming on the back of the fact that just yesterday, some of your party people also.
And I think
what they were doing, destroying, property.
We should condemn any violence, any such acts anywhere, wherever it's coming from. And there's no justification for this. I mean, in a democratic society that we live in, and from what we have seen in the past, going in this direction is not going to be helpful to us in the future. And I think that, let's see what the police come up with, and let's hope that at least, as the one of your people who send messages said, this should be done in a way that will serve as a deterrent